saving on the motels in D.C. You're sleeping on the floor.
No motels in D.C. I'm sleeping in my office. Hey, are there? Hey, raise your hand. Any veterans? I know a veteran. I know a veteran.
Thank you for your service.
You too. Thank you.
Remember, I fought so you could be a congressman.
Welcome everybody, and again, what's your name, my dear?
Maria.
Oh, Maria, thank you.
How are you?
Very good to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'll be ordering something in a minute, Maria. I don't know what.
How we doing?
Yeah. Grab Maria if you want to order something.
I do too. Miller Lite.
Draft or bottle?
Oh, that's a good lunch.
Large or small? No.
Well, hey, welcome all.
That was cute.
I apologize. You know, we do this every weekend. We threw this together late because it's been a very busy week. So I apologize. We didn't get word out, I think until yesterday, where we were going to be today. This was a busy week. As you know, I flew home. I did not attend the president's speech. I flew home. We held a business forum, small businessmen and women. It was fascinating. I flew back to Washington at 6 in the morning yesterday, voted, and then flew back home last night. Gonna have a busy weekend. We've got a couple events today, and then tomorrow it's 9/11. About 8 or 9 events throughout the district commemorating that important day. We put out a statement yesterday or today, and my statement was very brief. When it comes to 9/11, we got to do 2 or 3 things. We have to pray for and remember the souls that perished on that day. Pray for their families. Secondly, we have to pray for and remember every soldier, everybody who has died since 9/11, protecting us, who is still continuing to serve to protect us. And the third thing 9/11 has to do for us is give us a kick in the butt and remind us what that day was. I don't like to use the word tragedy. The day wasn't a tragedy. It was an evil, evil act. Evil men killed Americans and killed people from around the world. It's not tragic. It is tragic, but it's not. It was an act of evil. And we cannot forget that there are still a lot of evil people, and hopefully the 10th anniversary will do this for us again. There are evil people around the world trying to kill us. And we just, I know it's a terrible thought, and we like to look away from that, but we can't. And if we as a country look away, and we as a government look away, it's going to hit us again.
They're terrorists. It's not a man-made disaster.
It's not a man-made disaster. This was an event where evil men plotted to kill Americans. And it will happen again, and it will certainly happen again if we as a country forget. I've got a lot of friends who disagree with me because I have voted to extend virtually every aspect of the Patriot Act. Look, when it comes to this war we're in, I want my government having every tool they can have to find and kill the bad people trying to kill us. Period. And I love liberty more. I love liberty as much as the next guy. But we always have to be vigilant that our government doesn't abuse these tools we give them. But man, oh man, don't take those tools away.
He was providing you got the oversight.
I'm not done with my opening yet. Yeah, you can fire at me. But I get bothered when some people want to use this 9/11 10th anniversary to make us think of all the other victims of other events, and that all religions need to come together and all this. No, don't use this anniversary for that. This anniversary, we need to purely remember the people who died. Don't take away from what happened. 3,000 Americans were killed. This day is about remembering them, not all this other diversity stuff. And it's about remembering the people who have defended us since that day. And finally, it's about remembering this event so it does not happen again. So that's my little diatribe. I'm done. I just get bothered when people throw everything else into this day.
Does it say those who know their history are
Doomed to repeat it. And as Americans, God love us, but as Americans, we forget. We forget a lot. We move on with our lives. There's a lot going on with all the debt and the jobs and all this stuff. I understand that. But we can walk and chew gum at the same time, and there are people in little huts and caves around the world trying to plot to kill Americans. Don't forget that. So, welcome. Thoughts, issues, questions, guys, about any issue. Let's get started.
Bob was uncle. What are we going to do about him? This is wrong.
We know that the president's uncle is an illegal alien, correct?
19 years.
And we know that he was arrested for DUI. I will say this. Let me just hypothetically. Let me put the hypothetical. Imagine that was George W. Bush's uncle. Do you think this would be in the media at all?
So do you have any power to put this on the front burner? I mean, the media's doing everything they can to cover it up, and he's already slid off quietly in the background.
Well, again, one important point is I won't shy away from this. Again, the media in general protects his president. So
I really think this is a direct link to him. It's a huge chink in his armor. We can check with it.
I think, what do I want? Maria, give me this. I'll yell at you. The thing that bothers me more than that, and that bothers me. What bothers me more is what the administration did a couple weeks ago, this whole effort at backdoor amnesty, where they took these 300,000 illegal immigrants, non-felony illegal immigrants, due for deportation, vaulted it, and said, let's review on a case-by-case basis, which will take the next 100 years.
Now, do you have any input on the issue that's going on in Chicago where they've decided to just catch and release now? I know we can't count on Dick Durbin.
I know.
Luis Gutierrez.
I believe that a couple of committees are going to hold hearings this month on the administration's executive order of a couple weeks ago and anything immigration related. So, like what we do with most issues, we're just going to try to put a spotlight on it. There's not a lot else we can do.
You get a lot of publicity, Joe. I'm sure you can turn up the harness.
Yeah. No, you're right. Remember a few months ago when Obama, the president, was down at the border and he said, "Oh, nobody knows how serious I am about the border. Maybe I need to build a moat and fill it with alligators. Maybe that Republicans will think I'm serious." We right away did a video with the toy alligator. He said, "Well,
Get that 21st, they just cut.
I'm going to do something. I'm going to do something again with this issue."
Thank you, Joe.
Yes, ma'am.
I was actually just talking to a woman who is from Mexico. She's here legally. Her sister came to America to visit 7, 8 years ago, something like that, and actually had a child here. That child had some illness and things like that and so forth, but she went back to Mexico. For the last 7 years since the child was born, the Department of Health and Human Services has been harassing her and just forced her to come back to the United States so that they can confirm the child's health issues being addressed. All of which forced her to come back to the United States to confirm that she was caring for the child properly. And we are the ones paying for the health care costs of this child to get the tests and all this stuff. And
Why are we forcing her back here?
I can provide you the name and information of the person. The child was born here, so the child was technically an American citizen. But she was living in Mexico. They actually harassed her until she came back to the United States to prove that she was a diligent parent. And we're paying for it.
Yeah, well, we're paid for a lot of examples like that. I'd love to know.
I just found out about it like a week ago, and I was horrified.
I would love to have my staff look into that.
Okay.
That's hot.
When is Congress finally going to get disgusted about on either side of the aisle to stand up against some of these
To stand up against the executive order.
He's circumventing guys on a regular basis by all means.
Well, understand that over time, we've developed sort of an imperial presidency. Presidents have been given more power throughout the last 40 or 50 years. This president has certainly taken it to another level, especially since the Republicans took over the House. There's a lot that he can do. All Congress can do really is again, like we do these things, hold hearings, raise publicity, put a spotlight on some of these executive orders, and as best we can, defund some of them, defund the implementation of some of them. Legislatively, we can try to overturn some things he's done, but that's not going to go anywhere because.
What's the latest on the Boeing?
We are actually, I believe, going to bring up a bill next week, and it may be amended to even disband the NLRB. But there will be a bill next week to prevent the NLRB from attempting to do what they did in Boeing. In that case and in future cases. This will be, I think, a piece of legislation Congress will debate and vote on next week. Now, but before we all get excited, because I'm no fan, obviously, of the NLRB, the House will pass this legislation. Let's say we pass legislation to disband the NLRB.
And the Senate will shoot it down.
It just, the Senate won't even deal with it. But.
You can't defund it though, can't you?
Certain aspects of it. Certain aspects of it. But these are still important debates to have. And if I were telling my leadership, pass stuff every week. Defund the NLRB. Repeal this EPA reg back. Just keep doing things. And so they get stuck in the Senate. Fine. The country sees that you're doing things and you're bringing attention to these issues. The more we can do, the better.
Question about, there's a meeting coming up or going on in Chicago with all the Pacific Rim countries talking about free trade and everything else. I've already seen articles about that. Well, when you can find the articles that they're talking about, it's going to be considered like after round 2. How many more jobs are you going to end up losing this free trade agreement?
Are you not a free trade fan?
Fair trade.
Well, when they did fair trade. That's right. And I disagree with how they did the NAFTA, where they just opened it up and everybody ran down to Mexico for cheap labor and took all the jobs out of the U.S.
It's a funny balance. We've had 3 trade bills sitting on the president's desk for about 2 years. Colombia, Panama, and South Korea.
Yeah, those could bring like 70,000 jobs to us, but he's holding them up.
Huge number of jobs. He's holding them up. He's sitting there because of some labor issues. No surprise. Again, not knowing, reading, the various arguments about the pros and cons of NAFTA. In general, a move toward free trade is always good for us. Always. One of the big problems we're having now is we're not able to export as much. A lot of our small businesses aren't able to do business overseas because some of these markets are closed to them. And again, I go back to these 3 trade bills, Colombia, Panama, and South Korea. We've got businesses that should be doing business in those
A while
countries.
back, I was talking about how China turns around and demands that a certain percentage of the product has to be built in their country if it's made for their market. Why can't we do that to some of these countries and bring jobs back here?
Right, that's what we do, but technically they certainly bend the rules. Like if you look at medical devices, for example, and things like that, it says wherever the last component is added to an item is technically where it's manufactured.
Maria, what's your suit?
So what a lot of the medical device companies are doing is they have a majority of it made elsewhere.
They're bringing them in as sub-assemblies so they can get around the tax.
Exactly.
Well, yeah.
Exactly. They get 99% of the product made from bring it here and put the last
Put the final
component.
cabinet over the cake, put it inside the case.
Exactly. So it has to not be about when the component was found, but the percentage of it.
I really do think, and then I'll come to you, Travis. I don't know if this next election will curtail this, but this whole China issue is coming to a head. I can just hear it every week I'm in Washington. Republicans and Democrats on the floor are talking.
I'm starting to see articles.
People are getting really worked up about China. Yeah.
And deep under
The whole-
bunkers and everything else.
Right, the whole trade thing with China, it's coming to a head. I'm at the point too where, maybe again, I think you've heard me say this, we may need to hit them with something. Travis.
Congressman, many play hooky with the President's joint session of Congress, and I saw the article from CLTV, the video, of, I think it was what, 2-3 dozen people that attended the forum?
Stop. We had 110 people at the forum.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you for
I'm
correcting that. And out of the 100 plus people that was at the forum, I noticed at least 2 or 3 individuals, these were not staff members who were in the audience, that have been identified through the media, not from MSNBC or Fox News, but it's been on ABC and other local television stations, who have identified themselves as being your supporters, and they're not small business owners. Now, I'd like to know, out of those 100 plus people that were there, how many of them were actually small business owners, and can you provide a list of their names?
I'll bet, and then Lee, you can answer, but I'll bet of the 110 we think we had there, I'll bet there were more than just a few that weren't small business owners. We only because we went out of our, hold on, let me finish, and I could be wrong. We went out of our way to invite small business owners, but we didn't close it. I mean, if you came, Travis, you could have come. If you came, we weren't turning people away who weren't small business owners. You know, hold on, let me finish. And you know, at our
Boy.
so I'll call security. You know, at our town halls, we basically just open it up to the public. And I've always said, I'll never do a by invitation only event. This one, we kind of spread the word to as many small business owners as we could in the district, but I know word got out, so other people showed up.
I would argue that 99% of the people that were there, especially the ones that you may recognize, are small business owners. You would have to tell me what they do to tell me that they weren't small business owners.
There were probably some people there that weren't small business owners, because we weren't turning people away.
We didn't turn people away, but yeah, there was a gentleman who showed up. I'd never seen him before. He's a retired school teacher.
Okay.
He wasn't a supporter of Joe's, but he's a retired school
But
teacher.
I'll also add to that my business is incorporated in another state. So anybody who would have looked at that and said, "Oh, she's there," and then compared it to a list of corporations in the state of Illinois, would not have found my name on that list.
Aaron, one more important point, and then I'll come back to Travis. Aaron just told me that we had a lot of people calling our office who we never heard from before.
And they were small business owners.
And they decided to come. But Travis, yeah, I can't. There were probably some folks there.
Because you said during your wonderful presentation when you were on television how you were going to play hooky, that it was going to be a forum about with small businesses, how to improve small businesses and enhance small businesses throughout the 8th district.
Right.
Now, from what I'm interpreting from what you said, including when you were on Martin Bashir, that this was only an invitation for small businesses to be discussing about businesses to be expanding here in the 8th district.
Well, not necessarily to be expanding the 8th district, but in general, the whole point was to pull small business owners together, the job creators, and ask them what we need to do about job creation in the country. So we compiled a big list of their recommendations. On Monday, we'll deliver a 2-page letter to the president highlighting what all these job creators said.
And just out of curiosity, can you provide a list of those people who said they were small businesses?
Aaron, do we have a list?
But that's not for public knowledge.
When I signed that, I did not say my name to go to other people.
Yeah, it's not
Sorry. I don't want them having my name and address, no offense.
I didn't say address, I said the name.
I don't want you having my name.
Travis.
No.
Travis, I think what we did is we were going to provide the various industries that were represented there, and there were a lot. There were probably 50 different industries, dairy, and assorted, but there was never any, nobody ever signed over to make the names public.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, but we've got a rough feel of all the industries.
Absolutely. That's why we took the names.
And Travis, we're going to give that to the president on Monday.
Yep.
I'm going to ring his doorbell.
Joe?
Yes, sir.
I hate to digress, but getting back to
Politics is all about digressing.
funding and something that might have to do with national security. Is there any more discussion about funding Pakistan and tying something to it that's they need to be a little more upfront about what they know as far as activities and going after people from Al-Qaeda?
I voted before the August recess, I believe, to cut off funding to Pakistan. But hold on a minute. Or it wasn't legislation, I signed a letter, or I think I'm a co-sponsor of legislation to cut off funding to Pakistan unless certain requirements are met and we know exactly what they're doing and how they're being helpful. Let me double check, and if that passed out of the House, I don't think the Senate did anything with it. But that's certainly where I am.
I'm hoping that that's not going to lose traction.
I don't think it will. That's still a very hot issue. Very hot issue. Yes, sir.
Yesterday on Fox News, they had the father of at least let's roll.
Let's roll. Hold on. That's what we remember tomorrow. Go ahead.
He had a very good speech. What did you say? We need to go after these organizations like the ACLU, CARE, they're taking away the very freedom of our country. So freedom of religion, it's poor little girl.
How we doing? Everything okay?
Religions in school. Heaven forbid you mention God. But you can pray to Allah, and you can't say Christmas break anymore. It's going to be winter vacation.
To be fair, the president did reference to a country under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The president ratified his own
But she can't say it.
pledge.
When the ACO, she's going to the streets. I'm sorry.
No.
Can't say the Pledge of Allegiance, but after that, we usually have a moment of silence. It used to be said as prayer time, but now it's just a moment of silence. They don't tell us yet.
And on Veterans Day, it's required in the state of Illinois that you say the Pledge of Allegiance, according to the Illinois School Code.
Now, the teachers are the schools ignoring that or trying to tell
Some
you
are,
that
some
you
are
can't,
not.
or
Oh, the school she goes to, they do.
There's one in Boston that I think was wasted about terminating it all together.
Brookline mentioned this, and she was
And you're not supposed to say the pledge?
well, if you're
Yeah, if you didn't, thank you. Can you bring us up to date on the redistricting? Figure out if it's still in the state or not?
Let me just touch upon something on your issue, and then I'll talk redistricting. I hit this president over the head a lot, but I try to hit him over the head mostly for what he's done to the economy, and what he's done to the size of government. Because that's really where I think he's just totally out of his league, and he doesn't understand how the economy works. And I think that's what this election will be about. A lot of important social issues, and candidates should never run from the social issues, but this country is not working, and our government is bankrupting us. This election should be about nothing but that. Redistricting. It sounds like the three-person federal court that will hear the Republican challenge to the map won't hold that hearing until November, mid-November. So we won't know for certain if this Democratic map is going to be official until mid-November. There's a decent chance it will be overturned. It should be overturned. What am I going to do? Because I know that's all you care about.
Well, I can't even figure out my petition preparation anyways, due to the state redistricting.
Oh, absolutely.
And you're starting to take the petition, start Tuesday, I believe.
Candidates can be out there passing petitions around, and they can be upheld even if the districts change. Kind of a mess. I'm not going to wait till mid-November to let people know what I'm doing. I've got a couple options. It's my hope and my prayer that this map is overturned. If it's not, then I've got to decide pretty quickly where I'm going to run. And I'm getting
hard to make that announcement today.
No, mister, I'm not. Get in some soup.
A lot of homeowners are going to have to make decisions.
It's a mess. Yes, sir.
Wednesday's debate, who impressed you the most with their answers and why?
Anybody up on that stage would be a far better president than what we have now. Let me start there. Having said that, life's too short to politically dance around things. God bless you. I wish they'd all sort of quietly go away, not go away, but this is shaping up to be a two-person race. Romney and Perry.
What did you think about Ron Paul's answer to building the wall on the border?
I didn't hear that. What was his answer? Ron Paul's answer to building a wall.
Basically against it.
Well, Ron Paul is probably for open borders, isn't he? Yeah. And I love Ron Paul.
He said something like you could put barbed wire up machine guns.
Yeah.
And you're
well, actually, what he was saying is that it could be as much to keep us in as it could to be keeping people out. So it's as much a prison as it is perhaps a safety net. And anything that we trade for our safety perhaps can be used against us.
I agree with most of them that said first you have to stop the illegals before you can deal with immigration reform.
Yeah.
Defund them.
By the way, I'm not.
They were almost all on board to, stopping the influx first and then dealing with
You just have to have a will.
You
don't need a fence. Yeah. You have to have a Justice Department that will follow through and have a president who says, follow through instead of don't do it.
Yeah. Right. Amnesty doesn't work until you actually have something about stemming the inflow. Then what do you do?
I like Ron Paul a lot. I think on most economic issues he's spot on. I disagree with him on some foreign policy stuff. I disagree with him on the border. I do not want to build a fence, though. You don't need a fence. You just need your government to do its job and have the will to do its job. We need to get, respectfully, this president out of the White House. It will probably be a Republican nominee that we're not all going to love. If Mitt Romney's your nominee, are you going to be ecstatic? Maybe not, but every aspect of the Republican Party has to work to get him elected if your goal is to put another president in the White House. Perry looks interesting to me.
Who do you think is the most electable?
It's a good question. Right now, I'd say it's a draw between those two. I don't see anybody else being able to be elected. And what I said from the beginning is, with the president, you're going to have a media that's going to, if you think it was bad last election, they're going to drop everything they're doing to work 24 hours a day to keep this guy in office. So, and what they're praying for, what Obama's praying for in the media is a Michelle Obama or a Sarah Palin or somebody that they can just rip. That's going to be hard to do with Romney, and truthfully, it'll be hard to do with Perry because at the end of the day, Perry is an accomplished governor. They'll go after him for his religion. They'll go after him for his Texas accent. They'll go after him because, by the way, he had one of the best lines last week. Did you hear it? He was on a radio show and he said, you know what? Yeah, I know. In some cases, look. In some cases, I support gun control. I really do. Sometimes you've got to use two hands. I think either one of those two are very elected.
But something does need to be done about those constant violations by the Mexican police and their military constantly crossing the border and encouraging things in the U.S.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I was confused.
Hey, spread that around though. And even Travis, you chime in. Do you guys disagree with me? Is there somebody else who's more electable? Who do you guys like?
We got Monday's debate coming up. I think we still got a couple more debates coming up.
Is there a debate Monday?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be 1 week.
Everybody Chicago's sponsoring it.
Who do you like?
I'm still undecided.
Who do you like?
I love Newt's answers.
Yeah, I think you can debate with anybody.
I like Christie. I'm not Christie, but Romney.
Who do you
Who
like?
did I like? I thought Newt Gingrich had the best answers, but I don't think he's electable.
Right. It's kind
Yeah, who do you like?
Hillary Clinton.
There we go! Hillary
Free quiz.
Travis, which candidate do you think would give the president the best race?
Actually, the most interesting one, and the one you so kindly threw under the bus, is the chairman of your Tea Party Club here.
Oh, Michelle Bachmann?
Yeah.
It's the most interesting.
Yeah, but do you think she could give the president a race?
No.
I know what you're doing.
No, I do.
No, you don't.
He does not.
Hey, you can bash me all you want. I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. I'm American first of all.
I know.
And secondly, I thought it would be an interesting race. Plus, she's a bit more smarter than Miss Taylor.
Interesting. What do you think? Huh? What do you think?
Each of them has great haircuts. I really like all of them. From the last debate, I liked Newt, the way he handled something else. But this one, I thought Nick did the best job.
What do you like, my friend?
Yeah, at this point, I'm not really sure. I was looking at Ron Paul, but I was kind of reading about Herman Cain, but then I was reading more stuff against him, so I'm not really sure.
My good friend. Anybody jumping out right now?
Newt Gingrich is absolutely an administration person and should be on the administration of anyone who gets elected. But right now, I would say that Rick Perry actually has the best balance, and this country is moving to the middle. It is not moving to a radicalized right or left. And the left took it way off the rails, and the right took it way off the rails. It's time to move back to the middle. Rick Perry is in the middle.
Anybody jumping out at you?
I think Connie said it better, she said they all have traits. I think that, quite honestly, I don't have a whole bunch of faith in most Americans anymore that are actually paying attention to doing some research and trying to figure out who the best candidate is based on the data. So that said, who I think will be the most charismatic to debate with the president to win an election in Congress.
I like Gingrich. I love Gingrich, but obviously, don't say Pat Paul.
Harold Stash.
Well, I don't like Romney's hair. You don't like his hair color?
Romney's hair.
He loves mine.
Rick Santorum. What do you like?
Well, I like the so I'm more for Hillary than I am.
Romney, and all the way in the back. Anybody jump out at you?
Give me that.
I would like somebody that agrees that we should raise taxes on the wealthy and go back up.
Yeah, but they're the job.
37%.
Is anybody saying that yet on the Republican side?
They have not. Maybe John Huntsman have. I don't know.
When did the pendulum swing all the way to the right? Because I missed that. You know, it seems like we've been
It was
way
perceived to be swung under the right under George W. Bush. It was perceived that way.
Which one would make somebody like you
I'd like to experience that.
support him against the president?
Leon Huntsman. John Huntsman.
Yeah.
I've got a question, Mr. Walsh.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
No, go ahead.
No, did you sign that agreement with the no tax raise with what's his name? I can't.
Probably talking about Americans for Tax Reform, Grover Norquist.
Grover Norquist.
I signed darn near any no tax pledge I can.
Yeah, but don't you think when George Bush dropped taxes twice in 2001 and 2003 and started two wars, and now we do have an enormous deficit, which is a horrible thing, but we actually had a surplus when President Clinton left office.
I know, but history's a funny thing. We all don't read enough of it. Here's what I think, and you and I might have a beer, we'll have a good debate about this. Every time you raise taxes on the wealthy, you decrease government revenues, and the wealthy pay less in taxes. If you want the wealthy to
well,
pay...
no, I disagree with that.
Well, that's why I'm saying, you and I would have to sit down and have a beer, because my history tells me when you cut taxes on the wealthy, historically, they end up paying more in real terms and as a percentage of all the taxes coming in. So if you want the wealthy paying more in taxes, don't raise their taxes, cut them. And I'm not even talking about the impact on the economy.
Well, I agree with you up to a point, but right now they're paying a lot less than they were, let's say, back in the 50s, back in the 60s,
Thank
back
God.
in the 70s.
Thank God.
Yeah, but wait a minute. Back in the 50s, people, a carpenter and a doctor could live in the same neighborhood. You can't do that anymore.
My friend, what's your first name?
I'm Rodney.
Rodney, I'm so glad you're here. And I mean this with a big old twinkle in my eyes. This ain't the 50s anymore.
Well,
Rodney, we're not going back.
Well,
Rodney, the world's changed. In the 50s, the only guys making automobiles around the world were us. This is a competitive world. Thank God it is, because that's good for all of us.
but it's not good for all of us.
Oh.
It's not good
Okay,
for all of
Rodney,
us.
what do you want to do?
2%,
Tell me what you
2%
wanna
are
do.
making all the money.
Rodney, tell me what you want to do.
2%
Change
are
the
making all
world
the money.
tomorrow. How would you get back to the 50s? Tell me what you'd like to do.
We don't want to go back to the 50s. What we do want to do is pay a couple more bucks for a TV set, but have it made here.
Well, but don't you want, who do you want to make
I
that
would
decision?
pay a couple more bucks for a TV set if I knew my neighbor was working.
Hey, Rodney, stop for a minute. You're right, but who do you want? I want to buy a TV. Fine.
Yes, sir.
I'm Joe Consumer. I want to buy a TV.
But you can't buy that TV unless you got a job.
You don't let me finish the question yet?
Okay, I'm sorry.
Who do you want making the decision where I buy that TV from and what country it's made in? Who do you want making that
That has to
decision?
be a government.
You want the government telling me what TV?
Well, who's going to make the
I have
decision?
an idea, Rodney. What if you start a company, and you start this company that's a Sears
Okay.
Plus, whatever you want to
All
call
right.
it. And this company sells as much American product as it can, the way Sam Walton used to do. And it says we will commit to American companies. And you shop America for those companies.
Right.
We don't have the manufacturing base anymore.
But
We don't have the ability to create these things. And
Well, no, we do
it
have the
won't-
ability. We
it
do
won't
have the
be a-
ability.
We do if we utilize the resources and people we have.
I agree.
But if you start this company today, I'll buy from you. You start it, I'll buy from you.
Here's the problem. Right now, they're making a product in Vietnam, a product in India, a product in China for a lot less than what we're willing to work
Excellent
for.
point, Rodney.
No,
The
that's
company
great,
works
and that's great. But what's going to happen when we cannot buy the product?
You're right, but try to.
Who's going to buy the product?
But you have to have a business person who will step forward with their money.
Well, then it's not their money. Yeah, but they're never going to. They're never going to.
Hold on a minute, Rodney, hold on a minute. Are you with Rodney?
This is my wife.
What's your, hey, what's your first Too late! Hey, what's your first name?
My name is Diane.
Diane? Is he like this all the time? Oh my God, everybody give it up for Diane. Hey,
You, Rodney.
I have to give it up for Diane.
Hey, welcome to my life.
We're sorry.
I love the passion, and it's an important issue. But look, now. That's what I want.
Mr. Walsh, can I say one thing? Demand starts before any businessman is going to do anything. The demand has to be there. And if a man can't buy anything,
So
because he
convince
doesn't
your
have a
neighbors
job.
to stop shopping at Walmart. Try and do that. If you can convince some of your neighbors to stop shopping at Walmart.
Well, that's not gonna happen.
Of course. But that's the same thing. Because if people stop shopping. Personally, here's an example. I shop at Ace Hardware. I do not shop at Lowe's and Home Depot. Why? Because I want to shop at neighborhood businesses that are owned by local people. I know exactly. I pay more willingly. But
I
most
agree.
people don't do that. They look at me like I'm crazy.
I agree with you.
But until we can convince Americans that it's important to buy American,
It's not gonna work out.
going to change.
It's not going to work.
Amen, Rodney.
There's got to be a structural
So here's-
reason.
so
And the
so-
structural reason has got to be, we ought to get rid of NAFTA. We ought to get rid of, there ought to be.
It's too late.
and I don't care, well, there ought to be something about the World Trade Organization that says that they can't
Hey,
tell us what to do.
Diane, we'll talk later.
So your point actually dovetails into the question that I had, which was we heard the president say that he wants to see Chevys and Fords and things like that sold overseas as opposed to, but made here. So the question I have is, when we have, and I looked it up on, Forbes just had an article that the effective tax rate for corporations in the United States is the second highest in the world after Japan, and we have the Davis-Bacon Act, right, for let me finish, for prevailing wages. You put those two together, which China does not have.
I know they don't have it.
My question is, how are we going to export those cars?
Because what we have to say to China is, wait a minute, this isn't equal. The World Trade Organization says it's got to be equitable. It's got to be equitable trade, right? But they don't pay the same freight. They don't pay the same wages. They don't pay any kind of health benefit. They don't pay any kind of pension.
This is a great debate. Diane, if pull his shirt if I go like this, that means he's talking.
Rodney, you must feel pretty good because the president has Jeffrey ML on his business development.
And I know what
he
he
sent
did.
70,000 jobs overseas. So
Last month, 2 months ago.
Yeah.
I don't think Rodney is saying that Obama's the answer.
Andy Stern, who used to be the head of SEIU, who's the
God
union,
bless him, by the way.
The union who happens to be in my shop, who cut their benefits, the SEIU employees at my shop, the union cut their pension 30% 2 years ago, sent them a letter. You know why? Because they spent $83 million to get the clown elected into the White House. You think how they must...
Now here's what Jeffrey Immelt has to do. He has to give his stockholders a return on their investment. And he is allowed by law to send production overseas where these people make a lot less. And this is what I mean structural. So the only way you're going to get manufacturing back in this country is to do something about the structure that says, okay, you're not paying your people any kind of pension, you're not paying them any health benefits, and that's why you're undercutting American workers, because we expect that kind of thing. Do we expect it? And so maybe we're not allowed it. Maybe we should be limiting it.
To tell everyone on job classification what they should make. If you're a carpenter, you can make. Well, but that's
what I'm saying is.
I'm going to give Rodney the last word, and then I'm going to close it.
Yes,
go ahead, Rodney. You got the last word, and then I'm going to wrap this one up. Keep going.
What I'm saying is the only way that you're going to bring this country back is have people have jobs, and because when they have jobs, they can actually buy something. Yes. And right now, you can give you can give tax benefits to the wealthy that own the businesses, but they're not going to hire anybody because nobody can buy their product. If you can't buy the product, it's like, okay, let's play marbles, and you end up with all the marbles, and I don't have a marble to play with anymore. Guess what? Game's over.
All right, Rodney, stop. Rick, go.
I read about, I don't know, a year, I lose track of time. You could confiscate every red cent of everybody in this country and would run the government for 6 months. So, I don't get this class envy thing. And all this entitlement mentality. I don't have a 401k anymore, but I had one. I have an IRA.
It's not entitlement.
Hey,
so it's wrong that I should expect a pension when I'm done working? Is that wrong to expect? Is that an entitlement?
Well, it would be happy if your company could afford it.
Well, what about my union?
Well, that's the problem. It's the union.
No, the thing is,
no.
Wait.
Hey, Rodney, let me put a close on this. Diane, hold him firmly. Let's keep this clean. Rodney, let's go back to where you were 10 minutes ago. 2 issues.
Yes, sir.
And I think I gotta believe you're with me on the first. When we go out and buy TVs,
yes, sir,
you don't want the government telling us what TVs we can buy.
No.
Okay, so if I go out and shop for a TV, I can buy a TV made in China, Panama, North Korea, Mexico, the United States, wherever, right? I've got that right?
Well, what I would
wait, no,
I disagree with you. I disagree with that.
That's yes or no?
So you don't want me to have that right?
No.
Got it. Okay, so let's stop there. So on that one, you and I firmly disagree. I don't want my government ever telling me I have to buy this or that or that. So now, when it comes to trade, let me be really simplistic. All I want my government doing is, it's a mean, big old competitive world out there.
Yes, sir.
I want my government making it as easy as possible for my companies to compete. And where I come from, you do that by getting taxes off their back and getting regulations off their back. What we do, Rodney, especially look at Illinois.
So you want to take care of the Chinese, you want to take care of the South Vietnamese, and you want to take care of the Indians. Wait a minute, I disagree with you on that, sir.
No, I'm not done with my trade point yet. So in general, I believe in free trade. And I want everybody out there competing, trying to do their best, and there'll be winners and losers. That's fine. And ultimately, in a total free trade world, in a total free trade world, if we can't compete in certain industries, then we shouldn't be in those.
We cannot compete.
Well, now stop.
And I'll tell you why we can't compete.
Rodney, but to your point, so I want my government making it easy here, but in this big free trade world, if we see cheaters, if we see other countries that are cheating in this free trade world, then we got to slap them.
I agree. I agree.
Like China.
I agree.
So we agree with that.
I agree with you on that.
Now, but in general, we got to compete better. I see a cheater, I'm going to hit him. But in general, we got to compete better. And you don't compete better by doing what Illinois does, which is tax the heck out of businesses, regulate the heck out of businesses.
Tax the heck out of businesses. You're wrong.
Why are they leaving?
Why are the businesses still here, guys? Why are some of the major businesses still located in the city of Chicago?
Gave them tax breaks in the city.
They're doing it.
The reason some of the bigger ones are still here is because the governor's bribed them to stay.
Well, God bless them.
Yeah, but you can't bribe them. What is he bribing them with? Our money.
Because he's a Democrat.
No, he's bribing them with tax dollars to stay. So we're still going to feel that. Companies want to leave Illinois. A lot of them.
So what you're saying is the corporations aren't paying the high tax.
Thank you, Governor Quinn.
They're cheating.
Some are, some aren't.
They're cheating. The government is allowing them to cheat.
So they're not paying tax.
The playing field is uneven. So when you have Main Street businesses, mom and pops, who are really truly creating one job at a time, and you have corporations who are really not a one-for-one or two-for-one player, they are not creating jobs at the rate that mom and pops are, but the mom and pops are being suffocated so that Sears can get a deal, so that Caterpillar can get a deal, so that McLean can get a deal, so that Tyson Croup can get a deal. All of these major corporations get a deal in this state.
But listen, if you are going to allow people to make money building our product in Vietnam because they're making 1/10 of what we're making, and God bless them, because they need the money too, they gotta live too. But who's more important?
Well,
That's what I'm saying. Who the hell is more important? Who the hell is more important?
It's not that simple. And I don't think you think it's that simple, because whenever somebody hits a wall, you go to the next issue. And the wall is always right, it's fact. And so you go to the next issue. And as long as you keep moving the issue, you realize how broad that wall is. And we don't have a competitive marketplace when you drive down this street and you see 1 in 10 businesses is one.
Absolutely.
And when you drive down
buying
57,
Chinese products
and it's
over
nothing
Walmart.
but acres
They're buying Chinese
and
products
acres
over
of
Walmart,
industrial
guys.
and warehouse that's empty.
And Mr. Walsh, you know that.
And meanwhile, you have Ford, the only company, automobile company, that didn't take any bailout money.
God bless them.
And their unions are ready to go on strike.
Because they'd like a couple more bucks.
Of course they would. Well,
I'm a union man. I agree with that.
You know what?
What it's called, you know what? Hey, sir, what's your name?
Rick.
Rick. But you know what? The company can always say, no, we're not giving you any more money. And I'm a carpenter. I'm a union man. And you know what? We actually gave up $1.50 an hour a year ago. But I'm going to tell you what, we should have given up a little.
Well, yeah, we should have given up. And I came out of the
we should have given up.
Hey, let's spread this around. Other thoughts, issues, questions about other topics? Yes, ma'am.
Well, I think this discussion today obviously is a microcosm of what is happening in Washington, is that it continually gets gridlocked, and I think that's, one of the big problems. How are you finding ways to solve that so that we can get some decisions made and, have our businesses back?
Let's just look at jobs. So in reality, Republicans and Democrats, a lot more than the media tells us, they really do try to come together and get things done. That goes on every single day I'm in Washington. The media doesn't tell you that. It all sounds like a fight, but it really isn't. But when you look at jobs, this president and we have a much different idea on how you get jobs in this country. So will there be the chance to come together on a lot of things? No. Maybe a few little ones? Maybe. Maybe. You look at the president's speech, just there is a chasm between where he is and where House Republicans are. He literally still believes in this notion of using the government to create jobs. I am vehemently against that, and you know what? That's made things worse the last 3 years. So, but maybe there are a couple little things we can agree on. The pay, like for instance, the payroll tax holiday. Extend that for another year. Good idea? Maybe. It's all to me. Hold on, let me finish. It's always a good idea to let people keep more of their money. In general, that's what I say. Will it do anything to stimulate jobs? No. And I'm tired. One of the problems with Washington is everything's temporary. What we heard at our jobs forum the other night is, quit with these 6-month or year-long band-aids. Permanently do something about taxes. Permanently do something about regulations. Because if you extend the payroll tax holiday for another year, well, that's going to expire in a year. Then what's going to happen? So there may be a couple tax cut things we can agree on, but I'll tell you what, this president won't get one more dime in government spending to stimulate anything. Period. Period. He has made things dramatically worse. He doesn't understand how the economy works, and we're just not going to go down that road. Period. That's why this next election is so important. Thoughts, issues, questions, guys, about anything?
Gun control. What can we do there? Have our governor be the last state to have freaking gun control.
I actually think we've got the numbers in this state for concealed carry, and even if Blagojevich had been governor, he might have signed something. Quinn basically stopped it.
Only 3 counties in this state make us Democratic.
We are 2 votes away from a veto-proof gun.
You're 2 votes away from veto-proof on the gun thing. There was a Democrat.
Yeah, actually, it was somebody that at a town hall meeting in Chicago that Democrats in now.
I think there's a decent chance. I think there'll be a decent chance in the next session to get concealed carry. And I think Governor Quinn is just a tool. I think he'll do anything. So he may well sign something.
What about automatic weapons? You know what? Only if 600 people are breaking in at the same time.
What about concealed carry?
If 600 people are breaking into your house at the same time, you might need an automatic weapon.
He does that, and then like 2 months later, Quinn says something that basically makes it impossible to take it. So he's trying to say, even stimulus, whether people agree with it or disagree, the president said let's just make stimulus give them money back in people's hands, and then they raise the tax rate while they take the money out of their hands. And then they blame Republicans for it. Then why isn't anybody talking about that?
Well, it's hard to blame Republicans for anything that happens in Illinois. You can blame us for stuff. You can blame us, the House Republicans, for federal stuff. But Republicans hold none of the levers in Illinois.
So why are they talking about that, especially in Illinois where things are so bad?
Well, the Republican Party in Illinois is pretty powerful. And we are just, and we're just not in power anymore. It boggles my mind that the Democrats have a stranglehold on Springfield.
Madigan wrote the Constitution.
And by the way, yes, remember we redrew all the state legislative districts as well, and that's only going to play into Madigan's hands. And now you've got Rahm Emanuel in Chicago. Those two will be the 2 most powerful people in Illinois. Perhaps. Look, this has been an apathetic political state for a long time. And Illinois had better get off their butt or Or I was going to say, or Illinois will become a laughing stock. It already is. It already is a laughing stock.
We are a joke.
We're the model provider.
We are a laughing stock.
When you've got other states advertising for our business saying, just trust me, we'll take it. Yeah.
Oh, you got North Dakota too.
Yeah,
that's great. And when you get back to Washington D.C., please tell Battle Axe Max out in California that the people who are affiliated with the Tea Party, we like the rhetoric.
Yeah, I take the contrary view on this thing too. So Jimmy Hoffa says, let's go take out those sons of bitches. Joe Biden calls us Tea Party terrorists. None of this stuff bothers me. I think we're too thin-skinned in this country. We got to toughen up. Now, I don't think it's helpful for him to say stuff like that. Name-calling at the end of the day means you've pretty much run out of arguments. But I don't care that people name-call.
But Congressman, do you think there's a problem though when people with games on the internet like kill Tea Party zombies using actual people? I mean, because you just look at Gabby Gifford, right? What happened to her was wrong. It was completely wrong. So if someone's making games using real people and real people's faces or images and promoting shooting, then that's a problem.
Well, yes, but in general, then you always come back to, what do you want your government doing? Do you want your government restricting those games? Or let's play it out.
I don't think violent games should be games because it's not games. I mean, it's kind of like when movies say this movie contains mild violence. There's no such thing as mild violence. It's either violence or it's not.
Then that's a public policy issue, and your government should intervene to restrict games like that.
Communication is even what it is.
I tend to take the view that, in general, I believe in a more libertarian view. As sick as some of those games are, if they're out in the marketplace, fine. If then that leads to some psychotic individual killing a public official, well then what I want my government doing is prosecuting that crime. And if you can make the connection, then it becomes a legal issue. But that's the important debate. You raise a great issue.
But I don't think we should put them at risk to begin with. I think that if anybody on the other side of the coin had done that, I mean, you think about it, as an African American, I can say that if somebody were to create a game saying kill all African Americans, if somebody were to create a game saying kill all gays and lesbians, it would be considered a hate crime.
Yes.
But why is it now? And they would go to jail. But yes,
because there's a double standard.
Absolutely.
We know that. You can call a Tea Party guy a terrorist. If you called President Obama a terrorist, I'd be thrown in the lockup tomorrow. There's a double standard in our media. We know that.
Who's the head of the Tea Party?
There's no head.
I've never met
There's no head.
Some people think he's sitting right here.
I just pray that no crazy person does something.
Yeah.
Well, it'll probably
I think for the Tea Party, it actually feeds us when somebody says you're a
I think it's great. I think it makes the other side look stupid. And people in the middle, when people in the middle listen to Jimmy Hoffa, I smile. Keep talking, Jimmy. Keep talking. Because all those people in the middle. Oh my God, I love this. Is it 2012 yet?
How about Chris Matthews?
Is this a flower power?
Hey, that's outstanding.
That's for my buddy up here.
Hey, thank you.
Another one's great deal.
Thanks for coming in, Joe. People goes for that lady. He's the most large right winger there is. You always say that gray hair guy.
I like that.
Maybe you.
Yeah.
Maybe you.
I missed that one, buddy.
Isn't that what Fast and Furious is all about? They were trying to
I'll get it. Congressman has to go use one of the boys for Fast and Furious is a long time.
I'm 10 years old. I'm 68.
The Chinese.
Well, you were a little too old for that.
And another thing.
Yeah. You know, sir.
Hey, Diane.
Yeah.
You are a saint.
I can't believe.
Yeah? What?
Intelligent as you are.
Why am I a
You
saint?
don't realize.
Oh, because I married him? May I tell you one more thing?
I think agree with a lot of the stuff you said, but don't you, I know you realize.
No, I want more government revenue. We need more revenue, right? Yeah. Right? Yeah. I want to cut taxes to get that revenue. Cut taxes. Grow the economy.
Climb the pump right now.
Excuse me, sir. May I say one more thing?
Yes.
I married him and inherited 3 children. Please.
Well, I'll be right back.
I hope you didn't